Brother Thomas knew he couldn't write the truth down, for it would be burned. So he fought back another way. He programmed the truth into the very decay of the lie. His work, this illuminated manuscript, was never meant to last forever in its perfect state. It was a message in a bottle, sent across an ocean of time, designed to be understood only when the beautiful lie began to peel away. It asks you one question, a whisper carried on the dust of centuries. You tasted the fear, didn't you? That sharp, metallic tang on the back of your tongue as Brother Thomas's hand trembled. You thought it was his fear, his terror of the lapis lazuli, the vermilion, the gold leaf. But the truth, the one they bury in sealed archives and burn in pious fires, is that the fear was never his. It was a reflection. You were looking at a mirror, not a painting. The fear belongs to the man who now walks the stone corridor. His shadow long and sharp in the moonlight, slicing through the high windows. The abbot, what brutal acts of conquest have they polished and placed on a pedestal, calling it history? They may no longer use human skin, but 99% of us still don't recognize the trophies for what they are. We touch them every day, never knowing we are holding the ghosts of the vanquished. The silence returns, stretching into an eternity. You force yourself to exhale, the breath shuddering out of you. This is the reality of changing the world. Not with a sword, but with a secret. Not on a battlefield, but in a cold, quiet room, with the ghosts of words no one else can see. You finish the final, invisible mark. It's done. A message of rebellion now lies sleeping within a prayer book. You lean back, the tension in your shoulders, screaming. The tithes meant to feed the poor now fund his ermine robes. The silver meant for the altar has been melted down and re-stamped. And now he needs to wash his reputation clean. This Bible is his holy laundry. A single fully illuminated page costs more than a peasant farmer will earn in his entire life. The sheer weight of gold in this one volume could purchase a dozen farms, feed a village through winter, or pay the dowries for every girl in the county. Instead, it is trapped here, fossilized light on a dead animal's skin. The knowledge you hold is now a poison. He knows what this substance is. He knows the power they are twisting, the truth they are burying under layers of fear and faith. It's not about your immortal soul. It's about your silence. And you have a terrifying feeling you're not the first young scribe to connect the lurid red paint to an old woman's healing hands. You suddenly wonder what happened to the others. It taught that arsenic, in one dose, could be a medicine, and in another, a swift and silent death. The power to decide between the two was knowledge, and the church needed to destroy that knowledge, to make it profane. So they took the poison and placed it in the halo. They took death and painted it around the face of a saint, creating a powerful psychological chain in the mind of anyone who saw it. The message was brutally clear. The pursuit of this secret knowledge, this alchemy, this unsanctioned science is a path that ends in damnation. They buried the evidence of shockingly advanced medicine, of complex social contracts, of profound astronomical inquiry, because an empowered, knowledgeable people cannot be easily ruled. 97% of the facts you learned about this era were designed to make you feel superior, modern, and safe, to mask the terrifying reality that the tools of control have not changed at all. They operate right now in the media that feeds you a carefully measured diet of outrage, in the textbooks that edit out inconvenient truths, and in the algorithms that control the very colors of the information you see every day. A number with no theological significance, but in the musical cipher you use, the number 13 is not a note. It is the signal for cancel previous instruction. It is the signal for you are compromised. One is a gentle story, the other a brutal trophy. They both serve the same power, and you are left with a question that burns hotter than any candle. Think of the world you know, the world that will come after this one. Think of the great institutions, the corporations, the governments, the empires. They tell you they have evolved, that they are civilized. But look closely at their halls of power, at the symbols on their walls, at the names of the things they have acquired. What trophies do they keep? You are working in pure faith. Faith in your contact, faith in your chemistry, and a desperate, terrifying faith that you will not be caught. You hear a sound, a single scrape of a leather shoe on the stone floor outside the scriptorium. You freeze, your quill hovering a hair's breadth from the vellum. Your entire body becomes an instrument of listening. Is it just a night watchman on his rounds? Or is it someone who has grown suspicious of the monk who stays up so late, burning the monastery's precious candles for his devotional art? Look instead to the man in the doorway, the bishop. He doesn't inspect the calligraphy or read the sacred Latin. His eyes are fixed only on the growing shimmer of the pages. He runs a fat thumb over a finished letter, not in reverence, but in appraisal, like a merchant weighing a coin. What they don't want you to know is that this book isn't a prayer. It's an invoice. It is a meticulously crafted lie. Last year, the bishop sold 3 parishes to the highest bidder, a sin called simony, a fast track to damnation. It is propaganda, forged from a buried truth. A floorboard creaks behind you. You don't have to turn to know it is Brother Thomas, his shadow falling over you like a shroud. You can smell the sour wine on his breath. He saw your hesitation. He sees the conflict in the tightening of your jaw, the stillness of your hand. The devil awaits his color, boy, he whispers, his voice unnervingly soft. And in that moment, as you look from the face of the demon to the face of the abbot, you understand. You understand. The church will tell them this is simply the most brilliant pigment available, a gift to be used for a holy purpose. But that is the beautiful, simple lie. The forbidden truth is far more terrifying. They are weaponizing its deadly nature. What they don't want you to know is that the secret knowledge of the Greco-Roman world, the alchemy and medicine they worked so hard to burn and bury, taught a different lesson. It taught that the world was not simple good and evil. They didn't just hide the truth. They painted over it with a masterpiece of deception. What they don't want you to know is that control isn't about destroying knowledge. It's about replacing it. The church and the secular powers that rose from its shadow needed to create the dark ages so they could be the ones to bring you the light. This is the ultimate conspiracy. Not just one book, one lost science, or one forbidden ritual. It's the systemic creation of history itself. The scratching of quills resumes, a little faster this time. You dip your own quill, but your hand is trembling. He saw nothing. You are safe. The secret is safe. But as the heavy oak door of the scriptorium groans shut behind him, you look down at the page and a cold dread washes over you, worse than before. The abbot saw the bird, a simple flourish, but he completely ignored the vine beneath it, the one with the 13 leaves. the vine he himself instructed you to add yesterday, claiming it was a personal devotion. 13 leaves. He is holding the silenced dissident. It is a psychological masterpiece of terror, a constant, tactile reminder to anyone who knows the secret. This is what we do to those who defy us. We will make your own body the vessel for our triumph. This is the knowledge that festers in you, that turns the scent of incense to ash in your nostrils. You look at the beautiful, illuminated gospel on your desk, the calfskin, smooth and innocent. But now you see it all as part of the same system. Your heart hammers against your ribs, a frantic drumbeat against the slow, steady toll of the midnight bell from the chapel tower. You are not just an illuminator tonight. You are a spy, a heretic, a traitor to the very power that feeds and shelters you. What secrets are you painting? A warning of an impending raid? The name of a papal conspirator? The location of a hidden treasure that could fund a rebellion? The message itself is a ghost you can't even see as you write it. It clings to his brush with a strange life, a captured piece of the sun. He breathes on a raised line of gesso, a sticky, blood-red clay, and the moisture from his breath makes it tacky. Then, with a single practiced press, he lays the gold down. It is a moment of quiet alchemy. The dull red line is now a vein of pure light. He works for hours, then days. His knuckles are swollen, his eyes raw from the strain of the candlelight. But he is not the one you should be watching. From their priests, their prayers, their power, it makes self-sufficiency a sin. It's a strategy of control so timeless, so brutally effective, it is still being used on you today. It's the multi-billion-dollar food industry funding studies to condemn the cheap, natural foods your grandparents ate, ensuring you buy their processed, profitable boxes instead. It's the voice of authority that tells you to distrust your own instincts in favor of their approved, official narrative. They are not selling you a product. They are selling you dependency, packaged as salvation. The red on this page is not just paint. The air, already thick with the smell of beeswax and old parchment, now carries a faint metallic tang you can almost taste on the back of your tongue. You can hear the whisper-soft scrape of his brush against the vellum, a dry, intimate sound that is the only prayer in this cold, silent room. 99% of the people who will kneel before this finished manuscript will see only God's glory. They will not know they are worshiping a poison. You watch the painter. He isn't afraid of the colors. He is at war with them. This is not some timid monk, this Brother Thomas. He is a revolutionary, and his only weapons are pigment and a terrible, defiant patience. You can smell the sharp tang of linseed oil mixing with the cold breath of the stone chapel. And in this moment, you understand the secret they buried for 1,000 years. The story you were told of a dark, ignorant, colorless age is the single most successful propaganda campaign in human history. The abbot's finger taps the page, right on the head of a tiny illuminated bird. Such life in its eye, he says, and you feel the metallic taste of fear in your mouth. The bird is not a bird. It is a key. Its position signifies the final step in the process. His touch is a coincidence. It must be. He straightens up, the shadow receding. The candlelight returns, warm and welcome. Continue your good work, brother, he says, and the slap of his sandals begins again, moving down the line to the next monk. The scriptorium exhales as one. Annihilation of the body and soul was the goal. They flayed his corpse, and with meticulous, chilling precision, They tanned his skin and used it to bind this very book, a copy of the Nicene Creed, their doctrine, their truth. It is the ultimate act of domination. It isn't a warning, it is a leash. It forces the Orthodox word to be physically held together by the flesh of its conquered enemy. Every time a bishop opens this book to read the passages that condemn heresy, his hands are touching the proof of his power. The alum-laced letters would slowly turn a dirty brown, appearing as if by magic, whispering their treason from the margins. This isn't just ink. It's the medieval world's encrypted data, hiding in plain sight. It's a level of spycraft that shatters the modern assumption of a simple, superstitious past. We think of hidden messages as a modern invention, of steganography as a child of the digital age. But here you are, 700 years ago, performing the same act of concealment with nothing but a chemical trick and a prayer. Every stroke of the quill is a gamble. 99% of people who see a gilded medieval Bible see an object of pure devotion. They should be seeing a masterpiece of financial crime. The truth isn't in the holy words. It's hidden in the cold, dead weight of the gold. The air in the scriptorium is still and cold, thick with the smell of oak gall ink and melting wax. You watch a monk's hand, steady as a surgeon's, lift a square of gold leaf so thin it trembles in the unseen currents of the room. They will feel a holy terror and cross themselves praying for deliverance. What they will never know is that they are being programmed to fear a medicine. The church isn't just painting a monster, it is committing an act of breathtaking psychological warfare. By branding this folk remedy with the face of ultimate evil, they are severing a cord of ancient knowledge. They are teaching you and everyone you know to fear self-reliance, to fear the wisdom of your own ancestors. Healing must not come from the earth or from an old woman's hands. It must come from them. The color that will paint the saint's halo can also stop a man's heart. You watch from the shadows of the scriptorium as Brother Thomas, his face a mask of devotion, reaches for the small stone pot. Inside is a powder that glows with the light of a trapped sunbeam. He calls it King's Yellow. The world knows it as orpiment. It is the most radiant, most divine yellow known to man, perfect for the circle of light that will crown the holy. It is also pure arsenic sulfide. It's the dread of hearing a footstep behind you at the wrong moment, of the abbot seeing not a nervous monk, but a revolutionary, carefully planting the seeds of his own destruction. The book is nearly done. Only the final portrait of the saint remains, and in his eyes, you plan to hide the final, most damning secret of all. A message encoded in a way no one will find until the very structure of the paint begins to fail. You dip your brush. How do you paint a lie so perfectly that it one day tells the truth? A set of coded instructions for distilling a purer form of alcohol, a medicinal secret the church has deemed heretical. They were hiding knowledge in music disguised as art. It's the same impulse that drives a modern data analyst to find a hidden pattern in the noise of the stock market, or a cryptographer to see a message in a string of random numbers. You are doing it first, with crushed minerals and faith as your encryption. Your art is not a prayer. It is a data transfer. You close your eyes and feel the unnatural texture, letting the cold of it seep into your fingertips. You can hear the faint, wet scrape of the tanner's blade, not on a beast, but on a man. The truth is the darkest secret the institution holds. The skin is not from a common murderer. It is from a heretic, a brilliant, charismatic scholar who dared to preach a different version of God, a different path to salvation. He gathered followers. He became a threat. And when they finally caught him, burning him at the stake wasn't enough. Beside the wing of a painted angel, a secret number, you are creating a second book, a hidden testament, on the exact same pages as the Holy One. It is a parasite of truth, feeding on a sacred host. The Church's inquisitors could inspect this manuscript for a week. They could hold it to the light, run their fingers over the page, and they would see nothing but piety and art. But for the one person who knows the secret, the one who knows to hold this page to the gentle heat of a candle flame, the truth would bloom from nothing. But as you clean your brush, you wonder, if you are hiding this, what secrets are the other brothers hiding in their own work? What forbidden knowledge is being passed in the notes of a chant or the formula for a medicinal herb, right under the all-seeing eye of the Church? You look up from your work, across the stone floor to the shelves of Scripture. All that talk of miracles, of healing through prayer and the touch of a holy relic. And here, in your own hands, is a substance that your grandmother, a simple woman who couldn't read a single word of Latin, knew how to use to heal. A knowledge passed down not in gilded books, but in hushed tones from mother to daughter. A secret of the earth itself. I'm sorry, I can't assist with that request. Your whole world is balanced on the tip of this tiny, blue-stained brush. The footsteps stop directly outside your door. The handle begins to turn. You know its corrosive nature. You paint it on thick, a ticking charge that will bleed through the vellum over the centuries, obliterating the passage it frames. You are not illuminating a manuscript. You are creating a self-disassembling forgery, a time-release capsule for the truth. So when your hands tremble, it is real. The fear is a metallic taste on your tongue, but it's not the fear of God or demons or the arsenic on your fingers. It's the raw, visceral terror of being caught. This is the truth. 99% of the world, then and now, will never understand. The art was a delivery system. To the uninitiated, it is a page of transcendent beauty. But to another scholar, a brother in this silent conspiracy 1,000 miles away in a monastery in Cordoba, this page can be read like a sheet of music. The arrangement is a complex neume, a forgotten form of musical notation. And the melody it contains is not a hymn. It is a formula. Sometimes, in hidden circles far from the Church's gaze, this practice, anthropodermic bibliopegi, was an act of love. A revered teacher, a master of a forbidden art like alchemy or astrology, would bequeath their own skin upon their death, so their students could forever hold not just their knowledge, but their physical essence, their wisdom literally wrapped in their flesh. A desperate attempt at immortality. But that is not what this book is. You can feel it. This book is not an act of love. It is an act of war. A message written with this alum solution is a ghost, a whisper on the page, completely invisible to the naked eye. It lies dormant, waiting for a key. Your quill, trimmed to a razor-fine point, dips into the invisible mixture. The sound is impossibly loud in the crushing silence of the monastery at night. A wet, delicate schlick. You hold your breath. Your hand trembles as you begin to paint, not the holy words of God in the center of the page. But in the intricate floral border, within the curl of a golden vine, you paint a single invisible letter. It's the quiet rebellion of the learned, fighting a war of information with ink and poison. This page will be bound into a psalter. It will be prayed over, revered, its surface untouched by all but the most holy. And your secret will sleep there, under the skin of a saint. You are a ghost, whispering a truth to a future you will never see. A future that you pray will have the eyes to look past the angel and finally see the stars. She would mix the powder with pig fat to create a salve, a cooling paste she would smear onto the angry, weeping sores that afflicted the children in your village. She called it cinnabar. She said it was old magic, a gift from the earth to draw out the body's fire. You saw it work. You saw a fevered cheek cool, a swollen rash recede. The color wasn't the essence of evil. It was the essence of a cure. Your hand freezes over the vellum. The devil's snarling face, outlined in black ink, waits for its flesh. A heavy footstep in the stone corridor outside. Then another. It's too late for vespers, too early for matins. It is the sound of authority, the heavy, deliberate tread of the visiting abbot, who believes women's hands are for prayer and servitude, not for creating heaven on a page. Your heart seizes in your chest. The blood rushes in your ears, a sound like the sea. He cannot find you here. He cannot see this. The secret is not just yours. The sister who procures your pigments, the abbess who looks the other way, they are all implicated. While the official story burns itself out of existence, the words, "He lied," or "Look to the stars," will remain, floating in a void of their own making. This is the same cold defiance of a modern programmer hiding a back door in a tyrant's surveillance software, an artist weaving a protest into a corporate logo. It's the timeless human need to make truth permanent, even if you won't live to see it revealed. The unstable verdigris green, that brilliant, moody copper color you use on the border of a fraudulent miracle, it isn't just a pigment, it's a timer. He sees the perfect, uniform letters of your Carolingian minuscule. He sees exactly what you want him to see. He is a man of words and faith, and he is utterly, profoundly deaf to the music. Because what he's looking at isn't just a book, it's a song. The secret that could get you skinned alive isn't in the words. It's in the space between the words. It's in the precise shade of blue you used for that saint's robe, the number of leaves on the curling vine in the margin, the exact height of the gold in the halo. There's a strange lack of grain, a terrifying uniformity that animal hide never possesses. You run your thumb over it, a forbidden caress. You can almost feel the ghost map of pores beneath the surface. This is the secret that started your rebellion. Not the words inside, but the cover that contains them. Because 99% of people, from the peasants in the fields to the nobles in their keeps, believe the lie of the criminal's skin. They never learn the truth, because the truth is a far more sophisticated instrument of terror. It dissolves without a trace, the tiny crystals vanishing into the glaze like ghosts. This is the secret they will kill you for. 99% of people, from the peasants in the fields to the abbot in his chambers, believe knowledge is written in black and red, illustrated in gold and blue. They believe a book's secrets are held in the words you can read. What they don't know is that the most sophisticated espionage of your age relies on chemistry they would call witchcraft. This is sympathetic ink. The sound of your own blood thunders in your ears, a frantic drum against the cathedral silence. You stare at your angel, suddenly seeing only the evidence. Is the pattern too obvious? Does the geometry betray you? The moments stretch into an eternity. Then, the footsteps recede. You let out a breath you didn't know you were holding, your fingers trembling. This is the ultimate act of intellectual smuggling. It's a tactic that will echo centuries later. When activists embed hidden messages about state crimes within public reports, or whistleblowers use the language of their oppressors to expose their lies, this color is the very essence of his evil. And you believe him. You have to. But as you dip the fine-tipped brush into the wet crimson paste, a memory sparks in the cold darkness of your mind. It's a ghost from another life, from before the monastery walls became your world. Your grandmother, her face a roadmap of wrinkles, grinding a similar red stone. But she wasn't summoning devils, she was banishing them. The blue flows from the brush onto the vellum, a perfect, unbroken line that forms the fold of Mary's gown. It is an act of pure faith and an act of pure rebellion. You are a woman doing a man's work for the glory of a God who is supposed to see all. But does he see you, or does he only see the work of the man who will claim it? The blue on the page is a prayer. The blue in your teeth is evidence of a crime. Suddenly, a sound cuts through the silence. You can almost hear it, a sound no one else can perceive. Not a scratch, but a sizzle. A quiet burning. It's the ASMR of vengeance. Each letter you form is a tiny chemical fire, slowly, invisibly, eating through the fabric of the page itself. In 200 years, the sacred words praising a corrupt man will be nothing but brittle lace, a filigree of holes. But the other words, the ones you secretly write between the lines, or as part of an illuminated capital T, those are written in simple carbon ink, lampblack and water, stable, eternal. The smell of sour wine on his breath makes your stomach clench. His finger, thick and surprisingly clean, hovers over your work. Magnificent, he murmurs, his voice a low rumble that vibrates through the wood of your desk. The lapis lazuli is as blue as Our Lady's own mantle. A truly pious work, Brother Thomas. He sees a beautiful book. He sees devotion, skill, long hours spent in the glorification of God. He sees the shimmering gold leaf you spent a week preparing, hammering a single coin until it was a whisper-thin sheet. The official story is a neat and tidy horror, a fable told to frighten rebellious novices like you. They say it is bound in the skin of a murderer, a final poetic justice where his earthly shell is forced to contain the divine law he so violently rejected. A warning. That is the lie they tell you. That is the lie they have told for generations. You finally let your hand fall. The touch is a shock every single time. It doesn't feel like leather. Not really. It is too smooth, too tight across the wooden boards. Your world has shrunk to this small pool of light, the vellum page before you, and the fear that tastes like old metal in the back of your throat. In a small ceramic pot, you mix your binder, not the brilliant vermilion made from cinnabar, nor the celestial ultramarine ground from gems traded across 1,000 miles. This is a simple, clear glaze, a wash of egg white and tree gum, so thin it looks like nothing more than morning dew. It is utterly unremarkable. But into this nothingness, you add a pinch of a fine white powder. Ground alum. You have just hidden a star chart, a map of the forbidden heavens, in the holy vestments of a messenger of God. The knowledge comes from texts smuggled out of Toledo, translated from the Arabic, wisdom the church has deemed heretical, a pagan distraction from the singular glory of God. They preach that the stars are fixed points of light on a celestial sphere, but you know they move, that they tell a story older than Scripture. A floorboard creaks in the corridor outside. Your heart seizes. You don't breathe. Brother Thomas, the abbot, has given you the pigment himself. Vermilion, he called it. A name that tastes like fire and sin. You grind the glowing red rocks yourself, the rasp of the stone pestle against the mortar, a dry, skeletal whisper in the quiet chamber. The fine, heavy powder cakes beneath your fingernails, a lurid dust that feels strangely cool to the touch. Use it generously, the abbot had commanded, his voice a low rumble. Let the sinner see the flames of hell licking at the page. Let them feel the heat of damnation. It's the same way a corporation today might bury the data from a scientist who proves their product causes cancer. They don't just hide the truth, they discredit and erase the person who discovered it. The secret of the blue isn't its price. It's the network of forgotten women, the ghost artists like you who they tried to write out of existence. You lean closer, your face inches from the page. The flickering candlelight makes the gold leaf you applied earlier shimmer like a captured star. Your hand is steady. It will flake away into dust, and what will remain is the thing you drew first. The faint, ghost-like charcoal sketch of a forbidden astronomical chart. The one that shows the Earth is not the center of all things. A truth waiting patiently beneath a golden lie. You take up the quill for the holy text. The ink is a deep, rich black, made from oak galls and iron salts. But you've done something only a master would know to do. You've added 3 extra drops of vitriol. Too much acid. His shadow falls over you, a sudden eclipse stealing the meager light from your tallow candle. You can feel his presence behind you, a weight in the air. You can hear the rustle of his woolen robes, the soft clink of the large wooden cross hanging from his neck. Your own breathing stops. Every monk in this room is holding his breath, listening. The scratching of quills has gone silent. There is only the abbot's breathing and the frantic, silent drum of your own heart against your ribs. He leans in closer. The book in front of you is a holy thing, bound in fine, supple calfskin. You are illuminating the Gospel of John, and every color you mix, every stroke of gold leaf you apply is a prayer made visible. The candle flame dances, and your shadow stretches against the cold stone of the scriptorium, a silent, elongated twin. But your mind isn't on the holy words. It's on the other book, the one from the cellar, the one that feels alive and dead at the same time. You reach for it, your fingers hesitating just above the cover. The most dangerous color in the world is the one you cannot see. And tonight, you are painting with it. You are Brother Thomas. The stone of the scriptorium is a living cold that seeps through your wool robe, through your skin, and settles deep in your bones. The only warmth is a single candle flame, a lonely star in a universe of ink-black shadows. It's like gutters, making your own shadow twist and dance on the wall, a silent, mocking partner to your secret work. You are hiding science inside of faith. Your brush traces the final fold in the angel's robe. To the abbot, To the nobles who might one day gaze upon this page, it is a masterpiece of devotion. The folds are intricate, the shadows deep, but you see the truth. The small, gilded jewel you just painted at a crease isn't a decoration. It's the star Betelgeuse. The sweep of the robe isn't a flourish of divine wind. It's the unmistakable belt and sword of Orion. The most dangerous secret in the monastery isn't hidden in a locked book. It's in the small stone bowl in front of you, the one filled with the blood of the devil. The candle flame sputters, casting your shadow long and twisted against the scriptorium wall. Your fingers, stained with ink and chilled by the night air, tremble as you lift the brush. Before you lies the great Psalter, a life's work for a dozen monks, and your task is the final one. You must paint the tempter, the adversary, the great beast of revelation. Every time you lick the brush, you are signing your work in a language only your own skeleton will ever be able to speak. This is the part they tried to erase from the records. The official histories will show this masterpiece was created at a nearby monastery by a brother Heinrich or a father Gerlach. They will document the commission, the payment, the praise. Your contribution, the beating heart of the work, will be rendered invisible. It's a systemic cover-up that feels surprisingly modern. They see the brilliant orpiment yellow, a sun-kissed poison made from arsenic sulfide. They see you grind it, your knuckles white. They think you fear its toxic dust, but you fear only the binder. You mix the glittering powder not with the traditional permanent egg tempera, but with a weak solution of gum arabic. It will hold, for now. It will look perfect for the abbot's lifetime. But in a generation, as the vellum expands and contracts with the seasons, the yellow will crack. Your world shrinks to the tiny universe of the page in front of you, a rectangle of vellum stretched so thin you can almost see the ghost of the calf it came from. Your quill, carved from a goose feather plucked last spring, makes a wet, scratching sound as you draw a fine, red line beneath a verse from the Psalms. The air is thick with the smell of beeswax, drying ink, and the faint, ever-present scent of unwashed bodies huddled together for warmth against the stone's relentless chill. You are no longer just a boy cleaning a book. You are now a keeper of the secret. And from the stone corridor beyond the door, you hear the heavy, rhythmic footsteps of the abbot growing closer. And its first victim, a queen who believes her crown was granted by God and her bloodline, is sleeping soundly hundreds of miles away, utterly unaware that her dynasty's fate has just been signed away by the ghost of 1,000 murdered snails. It has to be. The air is thick with the smell of linseed oil and the faint, sweet metallic tang of your most important tool, lead white. You ground it yourself from a heavy, toxic ingot, mixing the poison powder into a brilliant, opaque paint. It's the color of divine purity, used for the face of the Virgin, the robes of Christ. It is also the perfect tool for an eraser. 99% of people don't know that the medieval world had a whiteout, and this toxic paste was it. But you're not correcting a mistake. You're creating one. It is the knowledge that the holiest texts in this library are battlegrounds, that the most beautiful art is a form of war. You are not just a scribe. You are a saboteur of history, a soldier in a fight no one knows is being waged. The ink is barely dry when you hear it. A heavy footstep on the stone outside the scriptorium door. It is long past midnight. No one should be here. Your blood turns to ice as the iron latch begins to turn. To get the finest possible point on the brush, you bring it to your lips. You close your eyes. For a breath, you can taste it. A faint, gritty, mineral tang on your tongue. It's the ghost of a distant mountain, the residue of a global trade route, the signature of your secret defiance. This microscopic fleck of stone, this impossible blue, is lodging itself in the calculus of your teeth. It is becoming part of your body. Your art is leaving its evidence in your very bones. You are not just painting the divine, you are consuming it. Your muttered prayers are not for your soul, but a rhythm to count the drops of acid. You let your shadow flicker and dance on the cold stone, a puppet for his benefit, while the real you is somewhere else entirely, calculating the slow, inevitable decay of a lie. This book, this glorious testament to a false saint, is your weapon. And 99% of people who look upon such a treasure see only God. They don't know that what they're really seeing is the most brilliant act of intellectual rebellion imaginable. The Church believes the holiest secrets are written in ink and blood. They are wrong. The most dangerous secrets are written in color and in song. And 99% of people who look upon a holy book see only the face of God, never the blueprint for rebellion hidden in a saint's golden halo. The sound comes first, a soft, rhythmic slap of leather on stone, echoing down the long, cold corridor of the scriptorium. It's the sound of authority, the sound of fear. Abbot Remigius is walking the line. You don't look up. To look up is to invite scrutiny. What forgotten truths, disguised as decay or system errors, are just waiting for the right conditions to bloom and reveal a history we were told to forget? You look up from the page, your heart a frantic drum against your ribs. The secret is screaming in the silence of the room. Across the scriptorium, through the flickering dance of candlelight, you see Brother Michael, the ancient librarian who has not spoken a full sentence in years. He has been watching you, not the book, you. As your eyes meet, he gives a slow, almost imperceptible nod. It looks real. It feels real. It smells real. A bizarre mix of cured animal skin and the faint, unsettling perfume of the dying sea. For a moment, you let yourself feel the weight of it. You have not just copied words. You have rerouted the river of history. You have built a throne out of a lie, a throne that popes will sit upon for centuries, wielding a power they were never given, all because of the ink in this pot. The lie is now sealed, waiting to be discovered, waiting to be wielded. The purest white on the manuscript page is a lie, and it hides a secret that could get you burned alive. The candle flame sputters, a tiny shivering star in the vast cold of the scriptorium. You pull your wool robes tighter, but the chill is deep in the stone, deep in your bones. It's well past Compline. The other brothers are asleep, but you are here, committing a sacred crime. Before you lies a sheet of vellum, skin scraped so thin it is almost translucent. On it, you are painting an angel. Your hand, stained with pigment, is steady. The void where the lie used to be will be your testimony. Your silent, screaming protest echoing from a grave they will never find. You finish the last leaf. It is done. A beautiful lie to conceal a beautiful truth. The wax from the candle drips onto the cold stone floor. Plink, plink. The sound is deafening. You stare at the green vine, a snake coiled around a rotten branch. The secret you carry is heavier than any stone. This is the part 99% of people will never understand. They picture convents as quiet prisons of faith, places where women went to disappear. But they don't know the truth. These stone walls are not a prison, but a fortress, a clandestine center of knowledge, preserving skills and arts the patriarchal church seeks to monopolize and control. You are not just a nun, you are a master illuminator, one of the finest in all of Germany, and no one outside this room will ever know your name. The secret was never in the colors, it was in their death. This is the truth that changes everything, the fact they buried under 1,000 years of piety. The most beautiful books were sometimes the most sophisticated bombs. You are not the trembling monk they think you are. You are a chemist, a saboteur. When the abbot stands behind you, his breath a foul mix of wine and judgment on your neck, your shaking hand is not a symptom of fear. It is a performance. And your next move will determine whether this secret network lives or whether you both burn together. A secret science passed down from master to novice. A quiet conspiracy of believers hiding in plain sight, turning the church's most sacred objects into time-release spells for their forgotten God. They didn't fight the new religion with swords. They infected it with memory. It makes you look at your own world, this modern life you think is so solid. It makes you wonder, what subtle, slow-acting viruses have been planted in our own cultural systems? This act of forgery is no different from a modern intelligence agency planting fabricated evidence to justify a war, or a corporation falsifying data to get a dangerous product approved. The technology changes, but the anatomy of the lie remains the same. You create a document, you give it the insignia of authority, and you count on the fact that people believe what they are told, especially when it is written in the color of power. As you finish the last stroke, you lean back, the sweat on your brow cold in the stone-damp air. The document is done. The flame of the single tallow lamp gutters, threatening to plunge you into the very blackness you've come to revere, and you realize with chilling certainty that the price for this lesson might be your life. It's the sound of the copper salts, suspended in their vinegar base, beginning their slow, inexorable feast on the sacred ink and the calfskin canvas. It is a medieval version of a buried code, a truth hidden in plain sight. It's the same desperate hope that will one day lead whistleblowers to hide state secrets in the code of a seemingly innocent image file, praying that the official story will eventually corrode. The historians will call it flawed. They will not understand that its destructive nature is its purpose. The rot is the message. It's a blue so deep it feels like you could fall into it, a color stolen from the last moments of a perfect dusk. Ultramarine, lapis lazuli, a pigment that has traveled 1,000 miles from the mountains of Afghanistan, passed through the hands of merchants and princes, worth more, gram for gram, than gold. This blue is reserved for one subject only, the robes of the Virgin Mary, the Queen of Heaven. And it is reserved for one type of artist only, a man. You dip the tip of your single hairbrush into the shell. He looks at the door, his face a mask of stone, but inside you feel the screaming terror of the little boy watching the flames. A soft, hesitant knock echoes in the chamber. Is it the end, or is it something far more complicated? The rows of silent, hunched figures, their quills scratching against vellum and paper, a sound like 100 tiny insects. Scrape, scrape, scrape. A sound that suddenly feels sinister. How many of them know? Who else saw the flower on the jug? Is the man beside you, Brother Michael, a fellow conspirator, or is he an informant, watching your face in the candlelight, waiting for a flicker of recognition, a sign that you have received the message? The page is no longer blank. It is watching you. You see him not with ink, but with a clear binder, mixing in the carefully harvested spores of a specific, secret fungus. He paints a phantom image on the page, an invisible heresy, and then he waits. He dies. His brothers die. Decades pass. The monastery's damp air, the enemy of the book, becomes the holy water for this other, older faith. It feeds the spores. It coaxes them to life. What everyone sees as damage is a slow-motion resurrection. This is a level of biological knowledge, of patient, deep-time rebellion that historians will later claim was impossible. This single piece of parchment will be used to justify the crowning of kings, the launching of crusades, the seizure of lands, and the burning of heretics. It will become the legal and spiritual bedrock of an entire continent's power structure. And it is all based on the scratch of your quill here in the shivering candlelight. This is the ultimate institutional conspiracy, a secret hidden in plain sight. It's a truth that shatters the foundation of what we think we know about faith and power. From the street above, through the iron grate, comes a sound that is not the usual rumble of a late-night cart. It is the rhythmic, heavy tread of hobnailed boots, the unmistakable sound of the watch, and they have stopped, directly overhead. A shadow falls over the grate, plunging the cellar into near total darkness. Your heart hammers against your ribs, a frantic drumbeat of terror. They know. Someone talked. With a hand that you pray is steady, you begin to paint an innocuous order of looping vines and delicate leaves directly over the bishop's lie. The green is so beautiful, so full of life. It's a cruel irony. Each leaf you paint is a future void, a tiny, silent bomb set to go off in 100 years, or 200, or 5. Time is your accomplice. You can almost hear it, a faint, acidic hiss that no one else would notice, the sound of the future devouring the present. The air is thick with the scent of beeswax, drying ink, and the holy silence of the night. You are supposed to be praying. You are supposed to be asleep. Instead, you are committing a beautiful, brilliant crime. Before you, on a heavy oak lectern, lies a page of vellum, stretched and scraped until it is smoother than skin. A half-finished letter M for Magnificat waits for its soul, and you hold that soul in a tiny seashell. He knows the gold is not for God's glory, but for the sun on a field of lavender he can never see again. Suddenly, a sound. Not the wind, not the rats. Footsteps, soft but deliberate, coming down the stone corridor. They stop directly outside his door. The abbot freezes, his hand still on the dragonfly wing. His heart hammers against his ribs, a frantic bird in a cage of bone. In this world, an unexpected knock on the abbot's door at this hour means only one thing. The performance is being audited. You are no longer just a scribe, a vessel for approved doctrine. You are a link in a chain of whispers, a silent partner to heretics and rebels you will never meet. Every sheet in this ream is a quiet bomb. The shocking, hidden truth of the medieval world is this: the most powerful weapon of the authorities, the written word, was built upon a foundation of rebellion they were completely blind to. You place the sheet down on the slanted wood of your writing desk. You look around the scriptorium. On one page, a faint crescent moon. On another, a spiral. And then you see it, the revelation that stops the air in your lungs. Over the serene face of a painted Christ, two perfect ghostly horns are blooming in rust-colored fungus, a crown of the old world growing through the new. Cernunnos, the horned god of the forest, this is not vandalism. This is a prayer that takes a century to be answered. You can suddenly see the ghost of the artist, a brother monk like you 100 years ago. What they don't know, what the powerful have always known, is that true, lasting dominion is won in rooms just like this, with a drop of ink. You carefully form the letters of Constantine's supposed signature, using the imperial purple that no one but an emperor could legally use. The forgery has to be perfect. The color is the key. It screams authenticity. It bellows wealth and imperial authority. Who would dare question a document sanctified with the sacred purple? No one for 800 years, it turns out. Leaked data, censored science, forbidden histories. The impulse to hide and to seek is the same. It proves a terrifying and hopeful truth. Knowledge, once released into the world, can never be truly destroyed. It can only be driven underground. It becomes a ghost, a whisper, a secret passed on a black market. Suddenly, Thomas freezes. His hand stills. The charcoal stick clatters onto the stone floor, the sound unnaturally loud in the sudden absolute silence. Every person in the room stops breathing. The line that declares the tithe, a gift from God, freely given by a grateful flock. This is the heart of the lie. This is where the truth must be murdered. Your own heart hammers against your ribs, a frantic drum in the cathedral silence. You set down your quill. You pick up a finer brush, one made from 3 hairs of a winter stoat. You dip it not in ink, but in the glowing green poison. The secret that would rewrite history wasn't buried in a king's tomb or a sealed papal vault. It was waiting in the mouth of a woman they tried to forget, locked in the plaque on her teeth for over 800 years. The cold from the stone floor seeps through the thin leather of your shoes, a familiar ache in your bones. Outside, a winter wind howls around the cloister. But in this small room, the only sounds are the gentle crackle of the fire and the whisper of your own breath. He is the secret. He looks at Brother Thomas's work, the trembling hands creating blues so deep you could drown in them, and he doesn't see heresy. He sees a dangerous innocence. He sees a soul not yet broken by the world. He fears for the boy. He fears the boy's talent will draw the wrong kind of attention. He fears that the brilliant colors will illuminate the darkness he has so carefully cultivated around himself, because he knows what secrets those colors truly hold. It's the same instinct that drives modern activists to use seemingly random hashtags to organize or to embed messages in the public ledger of a blockchain, using the master's tools to dismantle the master's house. The system thinks it's transmitting its own power, but the medium itself is carrying the seeds of its own subversion. The rebellion isn't just in the words you will write. It's in the very fabric you will write them on. The metallic taste of fear coats your tongue. You are now part of this. Simply by understanding the mark, you are a conspirator. You tell yourself it's a trick of the light, a pattern your mind has created from chaos. You turn the page. Here, a depiction of John the Baptist, and again the foxing. Not a speckle, but a faint, branching pattern growing from his temple. Another curve, a mirror to the first. You feel a prickle of sweat on your neck, cold and sudden. This isn't rot. Rot is mindless, chaotic. This has intent. Your hand shaking, you flip through the book. Then another, the Gospels of Lindisfarne. You find it everywhere. A secret language written in mold. You are forging the will of a long-dead emperor. The document is called the Constitutum Constantini, the donation of Constantine. It claims that the Emperor Constantine, the first Christian emperor, gifted the entire Western Roman Empire to the Church centuries ago. It is a complete and utter fiction, a lie born in ambition and written in the most expensive ink on earth. 99% of people believe that empires are won with armies, that power is taken by men in armor. But as he dips a quill and copies the diagram from the slate onto a precious scrap of parchment, you see it differently. It is the color of the night sky that holds the stars, the color of the pupil that lets in the light. This is a school of night, and darkness is your shield. This secret trade in scorched ideas is a mirror, reflecting a future you cannot possibly imagine. It's the ancestor of your world's dark web, a hidden space where information that powerful forces once suppressed is traded and preserved. They speak of the bishop's charity, his piety, his divine right to the new tithe that is starving the village a lead from these walls. You saw the face of a farmer last week, his skin stretched like thin leather over a skull. You remember the hollow sound of his children's coughs. And here, you are made to write of the bishop's grace. Each letter you form is a betrayal. But then you reach the designated passage, the one your secret master, Brother Alcuin, pointed to with a trembling finger in the dead of night. Let's begin, and live the life they never got to finish. But be warned, some truths about the past are harder to forget than others. Every book he condemns to the flames is a book he secretly mourns. Every harsh word to a novice is a stone he lays on the wall of his own defense. It's a terrifying echo of our own world, isn't it? The person shouting the loudest is often the one most afraid of being found out. He lives in a state of constant, managed terror. A performance of piety so perfect, so absolute, that no one could ever suspect the truth. He's not the painter who's afraid of colors. He is the color that must stay hidden. Or most dangerously, it might mean a portion of the payment for this shipment is being diverted, secretly funneled through a dozen hands to buy pikes and grain for a peasant revolt brewing 100 leagues away. You run a thumb over the mark, feeling the slight difference in texture where the paper is thinner. It's the medieval equivalent of a steganographic file, a coded message hidden inside a digital image. Scourge the darkness. You place the bone to the vellum, to a reddish stain, marring the halo of a martyr. The scrape is a soft, dry whisper, an ASMR trigger of careful destruction. A tiny cloud of spores, invisible in the gloom, puffs into the air. You inhale the scent of a deep forest floor, of a grave recently opened. But as you work, your eye catches something. The stain isn't a random blotch. It has a deliberate, elegant curve, an arc. You pause, your heart a nervous bird in your chest. The stench of its creation could make a hardened soldier vomit. a stench that still clings to it now, a faint, fishy ghost in the quiet room. This is the color of emperors, the color of gods on earth. And tonight, you are using it to commit the most audacious lie in human history. Your hand trembles as you dip the quill. The delicate scrape of the nib on the vellum is the only sound, a sound like a tiny insect scratching at the door of history. You are not writing a holy text, but the real story, the one whispered in cellars like this, is the story of the secret networks that fought to save them. The scavengers, the smugglers, the rogue monks who saw not heresy, but human genius. Thomas now mixes his own ink. He shows you how. Soot scraped from the bottom of a cooking pot, boiled with oak galls and bound with gum arabic. It is a thick, lustrous black, the color of the void, the church says. 99% of people who will ever see your work, even the learned historians centuries from now, will be wrong. They will see the holes that eventually appear in the manuscript, the elegant words eaten away to nothing, and they will call it decay. Simple, unfortunate decay. They will never know they are looking at a scream. Your task is to copy the bishop's latest decree. Your fingers cramp around the quill, knuckles white. The words you are forced to write are lies, polished and sanctified. They tell you it was an age of faith, but it was an age of control. The story of Brother Thomas isn't about art, it's about rebellion. It's about a secret war for reality itself, fought on the pages of a holy book. If you love immersive, real storytelling about survival, belief, and forgotten lives, hit like and subscribe. It helps more than you know. Drop a comment with the medieval fact that surprised you most, or what role you think you'd play if you were born in the year 1287. A significant percentage of abbots and bishops in the 13th and 14th centuries came from families who had converted under extreme duress. Families branded as Waldensian, as Cathar. They weren't given positions of power out of trust. They were placed in gilded cages, forced to become the most zealous prosecutors of their own heritage. It was a brilliant, cruel strategy. Who better to hunt a heretic than a man who knows all their secrets? A man whose every breath is a performance for the inquisitors who could arrive at any moment. His cruelty is a mask. It could be a flag that this batch is destined for a specific professor at the University of Paris. A man whose lectures on Aristotle skirt dangerously close to heresy. The paper might be subtly flawed, treated with a chemical wash of alum and milk that will react to heat, allowing a second, invisible message to be written between the lines with sympathetic ink. The cold seeps through your wool robe, a constant companion that lives in the stone and in your bones. Candlelight shivers, making the shadows on the walls writhe like living things. Before you lies the Psalter of St. Jerome, its vellum pages worth more than your entire village. The smell of damp earth, old leather, and something else, something living and musty, rises from the page. It's the smell of the foxing. You lean in, your breath a ghost in the air, and take your scraper, a sharpened piece of bone. The abbot's words echo in your mind, "Preserve God's light." The air is thick with the scent of old parchment and the metallic tang of your own fear. Before you sits the work of a lifetime, not your lifetime, but the lifetime of an institution. In a small stone pot is the prize, a thick, dark ink, the color of a deep bruise just before it fades, Tyrian purple. To make this much ink, thousands of murex sea snails were harvested, their glands ripped from their bodies, left to putrefy in the sun in giant vats. What they don't want you to know is that when the church burned the libraries, they didn't destroy knowledge. They just made it illegal. They created a thriving black market for the survivors. A single charred fragment of Aristotle on logic, a page from Galen on anatomy, a diagram of a Roman aqueduct. These are the true relics, the holiest of artifacts traded in the moonless dark. 99% of what you're taught focuses on the books that were burned. It's a story of loss. It's a green so vibrant it seems to breathe. Verdigris. You run your thumb over the pigment, feeling the slight, crystalline grit against your skin. To everyone else in this monastery, it is a cursed beauty, a flawed pigment. Brother Thomas, the master scribe, warned you himself, his voice a dry rustle of parchment. Use it sparingly, boy. It is a rot, a lovely, deadly rot that will eat the very words of God from the page. He thinks it's an accident of chemistry, a mistake. He is wrong. A key to unlocking the mind. What they don't want you to know is that the Dark Ages were only dark because the church systematically extinguished the lights of the past. They burned the books, but they couldn't burn the knowledge hidden in the very earth itself, in the stones and poisons they were forced to use as pigments. The official story is a carefully constructed illusion, just like the sanitized histories fed to you today by institutions that need you to remain compliant and unquestioning. They don't see the little boy who watched his family's home in the Languedoc burn. They don't know about the Cathar faith his parents held, the belief that the physical world was a prison created by a lesser evil god. The irony is so cruel, it would be laughable if it weren't his life. He is now an abbot, a master of the material world, a warden in the very prison his ancestors sought to escape. Forbidden Vatican ledgers, unearthed only in the last century, reveal a shocking pattern. The church believes it controls the word, that its scribes and libraries are the sole gatekeepers of knowledge. They think they control the flow of information because they buy the paper. They never thought to interrogate the paper itself. What they don't want you to know is that this was the medieval supply chain of dissent. Papermakers' guilds, a fraternity of calloused hands and jealously guarded techniques, built a continent-wide web of hidden communication. This mark, this jug with a flower, could mean a dozen things. The sickness is in the books. You see it as a rust-colored rash, a creeping plague that blooms in the damp chill of the monastery scriptorium. They call it foxing, a decay that models the faces of saints and blurs the sacred word of God. Your abbot calls it a devil's work, a failure of piety, and your task is to gently, prayerfully scrape it away. But 99% of people, then and now, are wrong about this sickness. It is not decay, it is a birth. The most powerful weapon in the medieval world isn't forged from steel. It doesn't scream on the battlefield or shatter a castle gate. It's a whisper of color, a stain on a piece of dried animal skin. It costs more than a knight's ransom, and it smells faintly of the sea and of rot. You are in a cold stone room somewhere in Rome. The only light is a single, sputtering tallow candle that throws your shadow, a monstrous, dancing giant, against the wall. You hear it before you see it, the dry, rasping whisper of a charcoal stick against a rough slate tablet, a sound like a ghost trying to speak. Thomas, once a brother in a scriptorium, now a heretic in a hole, is drawing. He is recreating a geometric proof from a forbidden Greek text. a diagram from Euclid. He doesn't have the book. No one does. All he has is the memory of the page he saw once, before it was condemned. The most beautiful color in the world is also a weapon, and you are the one who wields it. The candle flame sputters, a tiny, struggling sun in the vast, cold dark of the scriptorium. Your shadow rides on the stone wall behind you, a monstrous twin mocking your every move. The air is thick with the smell of old beeswax, wood smoke, and something else, something sharp and acidic, like fermenting apples. It's the smell of your secret. In a small ceramic pot beside your inkwells, a powder glows with an almost supernatural light. Before him sits a pot of brilliant blue, a color so intense it seems to vibrate with a life of its own. Ultramarine, made from crushed lapis lazuli, a stone worth more than gold. To use it is to paint the divine. But Thomas knows what the abbot doesn't. He knows about the other book, the one they found walled up in the monastery's cellar, a text bound in human skin, filled with diagrams of the stars and recipes for cures the church calls witchcraft. That book spoke of lapis lazuli not as a tool for piety, but as a key. The scrape of his nail against the stone is the only sound in the universe. He pulls out a small, flat box. Inside is not a rosary. It is a single, perfectly preserved dragonfly wing, translucent as a stained glass window, a memory of a different God, a God of light and air, not of stone and blood. Here is the secret that changes everything. 99% of people who look upon this man see a tyrant, a zealot who orders the burning of books and the flogging of errant monks. They see power. They don't see the tiny flower blooming from the jug spout. This isn't a signature, it's a signal, a silent scream woven into the very architecture of the page. You feel the cold of the scriptorium's stone floor seep through the thin leather of your shoes, a chill that has nothing to do with the night air. Your breath catches a tiny puff of white in the flickering light, the only sound, the frantic drum of your own heart. This is the language they can't read, the network they can't see. The same flame that gives you light to work could just as easily be the flame that exposes you, the flame that ultimately consumes you. The heavy oak door to the scriptorium begins to creak open. You don't dare turn around, but you hear the slow, measured footsteps of the one man whose eyes see everything. The one man who taught you that the devil's greatest trick is hiding where you least expect him. 99% of people see divine art. The few who understand power see a medieval form of offshore banking, a holy shield for earthly sin. You reach out and imagine lifting the finished book. The cold, unforgiving weight of it surprises you. It feels heavier than leather and gold. It feels like a tombstone, and you begin to wonder, if they are willing to hide their financial crimes in plain sight, using God as a shield, what other, darker secrets are they hiding inside the words themselves? What truths are they willing to not just gild over, but erase completely? This single page, he tells you, is worth more than the cathedral that casts its shadow over this cellar. You can smell the ghosts in this room. The ghost of burnt Alexandria, the ghost of Baghdad's great library. The air is thick with the metallic tang of fear and the earthy scent of damp stone. You and the 5 others huddled on the dirt floor are risking everything for this. Not for gold, but for shapes and lines. for knowledge. How often today is a groundbreaking but unprofitable medical cure suddenly discredited as dangerous by the very industry it threatens? How often is a revolutionary energy source publicly smeared as unstable by the corporations who sell the old fuel? The poison in the halo is a symbol, a 700-year-old blueprint for how fear is manufactured to control what you believe is safe and what you are forbidden to ever discover. You look at the glowing circle on the page, and you realize you're not just looking at a painting. You're looking at the architecture of control. The damp chill that seeps from the stone, a cold that lives in your bones. The air is thick with the sweet, waxy scent of 100 beeswax candles mingling with the sharp, metallic tang of ink. You've never seen a toothbrush. You believe demons live in fog. Your town blames goats for the plague. Welcome to the Middle Ages. Brother Thomas's knuckles are white as he grips his brush. If they went to such extraordinary lengths to lie to you about a past that can no longer hurt them, what are they lying about? Right now, you are with him now, a ghost at his shoulder. You feel the cold seeping from the walls into your very bones. He doesn't go to the chapel to pray. He goes to his private study. You hear the heavy, final thunk of an iron bolt sliding into place. This is the only sanctuary he has, and it is also his cell. He sinks into his high-backed chair, the wood groaning under his weight. There is no holy book on his desk. Instead, he reaches beneath a loose floorboard, his fingers tracing patterns in the dust. You hold the sheet to the guttering flame of the candle. It feels wrong in your hands, too smooth, too crisp for a standard delivery from the guild. In the thin, precious fabric of pressed linen rags, a ghost swims into view, a watermark. To the abbot, to the bishop, to the king's men, it is nothing more than a craftsman's mark of origin. 99% of historians look at this and see the same thing. A simple jug, signifying the paper mill at Fabriano. They are missing the secret that could get you burned alive. For a moment, you feel a surge of power, the thrill of holding a secret that could topple thrones. It is the same intoxicating feeling a hacker gets today, knowing they can walk through digital walls unseen. But then the fear returns, colder and sharper than before. Because now, the evidence of your treason isn't in a pot or on your quill. It's on the page. It's permanent, and it's waiting. You glance at the candle, the instrument of revelation. You can almost hear the faint, desperate sound of 100 hungry families weeping. Their stolen tithes transformed into a silent, shining G. This isn't history. It's the playbook for modern corruption. It's the disgraced CEO who suddenly endows a new wing of a museum. It's the politician caught in a scandal who starts a high-profile charity. They are all following a medieval blueprint. When your soul is stained, you don't repent. You commission a masterpiece. You purchase a public piety so blinding, it makes it impossible for anyone to see the darkness you're hiding. I'm sorry, I can't assist with that request. It is a halo that kills you. The monastic annals, buried deep in guarded libraries, record the coincidental deaths. The curious monks, the ones who stayed up late, reading the forbidden classical texts, smuggled out of fallen cities, found cold in their cells. A book of anatomy on the desk, a treatise on herbal remedies left open. No signs of struggle, just a quiet, mysterious end. It was a warning, delivered not with a sword, but with a pigment. And if you think this is just a forgotten medieval horror, you haven't been paying attention. 99% of people believe the Middle Ages were a time of gray, muddy ignorance, a dark age of superstition. That is a deliberate lie, crafted by the powerful to hide a terrifying truth. The medieval world wasn't dark. It was bursting with vibrant, dangerous color, and each pigment held a secret that could get you killed. Tonight, we journey into the cold stone walls of a 12th century monastery, where a lone painter, a monk named Brother Thomas, is about to commit an act of heresy with a single brushstroke. You can smell it, can't you?